The yellow, you got the yellow book there? Yeah. Page Samech Hey. At the bottom. Perek Tet. Okay, Perek Tet, Sigdan. Okay. Well, every time I prepare shiur, that says Rifion Ratzon at the very bottom, Dalit.
Okay.
You guys have it there at the bottom of the page?
Yeah.
Every time I prepare shiur, it reminds me of when I used to live in Ramat Beit Shemesh, and I lived on the edge of town. Before they built, for anyone that knows Ramat Beit Shemesh, before they built Gimel and Dalit and Hay, and they kept on going, I used to live right on the edge, and the hills were so beautiful. They were gorgeous. And I would go out there and I would do it. And
what can you see when you do it at the edge?
Well, now the places that I was doing it now became a huge city in Ramat Beit Shemesh, and it was hills. It was unbelievable. It was beautiful.
Now they say no good because too much Orvim. It became a Makom Tameh Beit Shemesh. It's too much Orvim there.
Why do you say a lot of Orvim came there?
Okay. Too much Yonah.
Right.
In the Shemesh, no, I was there. Too much Orvim.
Wow, man,
I don't know why.
Okay, but the point is that I would go out to do it, but I was. No, I didn't notice that there were so many. Interesting. Anyway, I was feeling claustrophobic in the city. I was feeling like I needed more nature, and so every day I would go out and I'd find a spot and I would finally meet Yashev. I'd sit down, take a deep breath, get ready to do some meditations, and we'd both do it. And the first thought that came to my mind every single time was, this is the place that I want to be. This is where I want to be. I don't want to be in the city. I want to be out here. So I remember that feeling because I had it every day. It's the same feeling I have whenever I prepare for this shiur. Once you get into a little bit into the piece of whatever, it doesn't matter which piece it is, Rav Kook, you enter into this world of Rav Kook. It's like going into the mikveh. It's like it's a mindset. It's a way of viewing the world that's so. You just feel that it's healthy. You feel that it's something natural, something organic that really meshes with your soul. That's what I feel in any event. So, and I'm always I'm licking my fingers, so to speak, after the shiur for the beautiful words of Rav Kook that we get to learn together. Okay, so let's go. And down. In this chapter, again, to remind us, is the air conditioning working here?
No.
It's not working. It broke yesterday. Okay. So we'll sweat together, we'll cry together, we'll learn together. So, in this parak, we're learning, Rav Kook is teaching us about the ratzon, how the ratzon is affected by tshuva, right? And we said that really, the deepest expression of a person's soul is his ratzon. And that doesn't mean any small ratzon he has, a ta'ava, a lust, or a pleasure in this world. That's also a kind of ratzon. But that's not the kind of ratzon we're talking about. We're talking about the ratzon, the deep soul ratzon, the will, which is the deepest and highest and most expression of a person's inner essence, right? And so we spoke a little bit about how tshuva brings out our ability to be in touch with our ratzon, right? And one of the great pains of depression is that a person feels like he has no ratzon, right? Nothing's going to help. It's the hopelessness and the helplessness that a person doesn't have access to his ratzon, right? Ratzon is, we said that the shorosh of the word ratzon is ratz, running, right? Because when a person has a strong will, he doesn't rest. He has so many things he wants to do. He has so many, right? I asked a friend of mine. He's a friend, but he's also one of a mashpia. Rabbi Micha is a huge Talmid Chacham, a Biala Chassid, and he knows so much Torah. And he's learned so much Torah. And every time anybody that comes to talk to him, if he has all the time in the world for him, and when he's finished learning, he has a family with I don't know how many kids, and he's got grandchildren, and he's always running, and he runs around doing chesed at night that nobody knows about. So I asked him once, Micha, what's the secret? How do you get so much done? You have the same amount of hours I have every day, and I can't get it. I can't get it all done. And he didn't think. I don't think he thought that he was giving me an answer, but he gave me an answer. He said, "If only I could get done all the things that I want, half of the things that I wanted to get done." Right? Meaning, if I could do all the things that he was doing, I would be very, very happy. I would feel like I'm doing a lot, right? But for him, he wants so much more. So everybody, the more ratzon you have, there's no way you could possibly fulfill all of your ratzon. If your ratzon is fully engaged, it's fully right. If you think about dvekut with Hashem Yitbarach, to be attached to Hashem, Hashem is Ein Sof. Hashem is infinite. So you'll never get to a place where you feel like you have enough connection with Hashem. That's it, no more. I'm totally satisfied, right? Satiated me. There's always more to go, right? So that's the kind of ratzon that we're talking about, and that's an ultimate sign of a spiritually healthy person. A spiritually healthy person, similar to a physical healthy person, is a person who has energy, right? One sign of a person who has physical health is they're not lethargic, right? They're not heavy. They're not heavy in their movements, heavy in their action. They're quick to act, and they're right. They have a spring to their step, right? So spiritually, a person who is healthy has a very healthy amount of ratzon. He's got lots of aspirations. He has lots of desires to do good, right? He's in the middle of his work. No matter how many you have some rabbis who wrote like 70 Sfarim. The Biala Rebbe we just mentioned, Al Masham, just passed away a couple of months ago, maybe 2 months ago. He wrote almost 100 Sfarim. In his 90s, I think he passed away at age 90 maybe. So, in the last year, he put out 2 Sfarim. He'd say, okay, retire already. You wrote enough Sfarim, right? Rav Avram Twersky wrote 70 Sfarim, right? He says, I really only wrote one Sefer in 70 different ways, right? Or whatever the number is. He said, once you got to 10 Sfarim, that's enough, right? It's never ending, because the more healthy we are, the more.
Count to 10, you can count to a million.
Right.
If you can count to 10, you can count to a million.
But it all depends on how much a person's in touch with their ratzon. Right. So it depends on how much a person's attached to their ratzon. So that's a sign of a healthy spiritual person. Now let's see. Rav Kook is going to speak about another aspect here. In Dal, he says, "Rifyona ratzon." If a person is constantly doing tshuva, which we said in previous pieces is an amazing thing. A person should always be constant tshuva. Doesn't necessarily mean looking in the past and what he's done wrong. Yeah.
My question was 100. The number is not million. The number is 100. 100 blessings a day, 100 Taryag mitzvot a day. For the day is good. Yeah. Right? There's a moment like this.
Just checked Wikipedia. Rabbi Twersky wrote 90 books.
90 books.
Over 90 books.
Over 90 books. There you go. There you go. So it's unbelievable, and that he did in his spare time. He was when he was working. He was running a clinic, a psychiatric clinic in not in Milwaukee, and somewhere in America. I forget Pittsburgh. He
was in Wisconsin?
He's born. They grew up in Milwaukee, but he lived in most of his career was in Pittsburgh. But anyway, on one hand, Rav Kook says that a person should constantly be involved in tshuva. Tshuva is not something that you do just in Elul, just in Yom Kippur. Tshuva is the constant. It's placing yourself in a flow of life that you're constantly seeking to be better, constantly seeking to go up, constantly seeking more, right? There's no end to it. Constantly refining yourself. But there's a certain kind of downside that comes with that. Is that if you're constantly trying to be better, so you automatically have a little bit of a critical eye towards yourself. Right? And a reason why a lot of people shy away from this kind of stance in life is because they want to feel good about themselves. right? And they're right. You should feel good about yourself. Hashem is very happy with you. You should also be very happy with you. But there also has to be at least some type of mechanism in your life where you can take a look at yourself, and you do have not with a negative criticism, not with an unbalanced criticism, not with a violent type of criticism towards yourself, chas v'shalom, but in a way where that you take a look and you take account of yourself, you take stock. This brings a rifayon of ratzon. This, in a certain sense, this weakens your ratzon, right? Even though we said that a healthy spiritual person, a spiritually healthy person, has a high level of ratzon. So here I'm doing something that Rav Kook is telling me to do, and it also weakens my ratzon, right? So he says this weakening that comes with it. And what's the weakening? Because when there's a part of tshuva is regret, or remorse, right? I'd like this aspect of my life to be better. It's 90% good, but there's a 10% that I'm not happy with. And that little piece right there, that when I look at that, when I feel that, the remorse, so it weakens my ratzon. Right? So what do we do with this? Even though Rav Kook says that this weakens our body and our soul a little bit, right? So you'd say it's not so good, right? Because our body and our spirit need a refuah. We need to heal from that. You can't. If we want ultimate health, spiritually and physically, right? So we don't want to have a weakened ratzon. We want our ratzon to be like
We want a million.
a million. We want it to be on full blast, the highest it could possibly be. So we need a little bit of healing from that weakening that happens there. But nevertheless, that weakening itself, there's something positive about that. Why? Because he says that brings a certain level of gentleness to a person's soul. And atzilut, the only way I can translate that is like majesty, exalted, like an exalted type of spirit. You know, I told you guys last time that somebody said about a Rebbe, she's like an empress, right? Someone who carries themselves with in a glorious way, not in a glorious way that they're glorifying themselves over other people, right? You see, this person is a soul; they're not just a body, right? They're exalted, an exalted type of spirit, a humble but exalted and gentle type of spirit. That comes with this kind of weakening. Et ruach. And I'll just give one more example of this so you can understand a little bit what I'm talking about. On Yom Kippur is the happiest day of the year, right? Yom Kippur is the most spiritual day of the year. Yom Kippur is a day where we daven how many tefillot?
Oh, much.
The most tefillot we daven in any day of the year is Yom Kippur is 5 tefillot, right? Arvit, Shachrit, Musaf, Mincha, Veneila, right? So the deepest Sfarim say that why Dafka 5?
Even in Yom Rishon, we're gonna have it the same thing, because it's mini Yom Kippur. It's gonna be in Yom Rishon.
No. Yom Kippur Katan, you say no. That's just yeah. So the deepest Sfarim say that the 5 tefillot of Yom Kippur represent the 5 levels of the soul, and that each layer each tefillah that we daven, we come to a deeper place in ourselves. We're doing deep work, and by the time you get to Ne'ilah, and they said the Sfarim said that all of the work of Yom Kippur is really to get to Ne'ilah. And some Sfarim say all the work of Elul and Rosh Hashanah and the 10 days of Tshuva and Yom Kippur is all just to get to those couple of moments of Ne'ilah. The last hour and a half of Yom Kippur, that tefillah, that holy tefillah called Ne'ilah. And why is it so special? Because when you've come so deep, you've come to the deepest level of your soul. What do we say that deep level of your soul is? Ratzon. What are you actually doing during Ne'ilah? You're saying pretty much the same words that you've been saying all day long, right? But now there's a opening towards your Ratzon. You're screaming to Hashem, you're crying to Hashem, I want so badly to be good. I want so badly to fix everything, to be healed, that the world should be good, the redemption. It's a revelation, a pure, unadulterated, just unfiltered revelation of your Ratzon, right? Yom Kippur you'd think in order to have the strength for such a day, we should eat a really good meal and before davening in the shachris. Strong meal, gives you, maybe have an energy bar during the day or something. And dafka fasting on this day, it's unbelievable. On the day where you need so much energy to be able to tap into the deeper parts of your soul, and yet we're fasting on that day, right? By the time the Ilan comes around, if you're not spiritually connected, you're feeling very, very weak at that time. You've been standing up, you've been in shul all day, right? So, but that's what Rav Kook is talking about here. That's another example that sometimes the weakening, which is a necessary part of the process of tshuva, that itself, it brings a certain humility. It brings a certain type of exaltedness. If in the middle of Ne'ilah, somebody would come bring you a delicious, fresh steak or a hamburger or something, something that you love, whatever food, you fill in the blank, whatever food you love, right? And you're in the middle of Ne'ilah. You wouldn't even want to look at it. You'd be disgusted by it, right? If you're really feeling spiritually connected at that moment, right? So, and it's why? Because you're in an exalted state. So too, the weakening that comes with the weakening of the ratzon that comes in a very gentle way, it elevates a person. The Rav Kook finishes with a pasuk that says, "On all of a person's sins, love can cover them up. Love can fix them, so to speak." And that means that when you, what I believe Rav Kook is saying here, is that when after you take that self-accounting, after you have that little bit of that little weakening, when you come back to remembering that this is a love story between me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm not beating myself up here. It's not about saying how bad I am and therefore I'm so far away from Hashem, chas v'shalom. That's not in our lexicon as Jewish people, really. What it means is I'm in this amazing process of fixing myself for Hashem Yidbach, for my relationship with Hashem. And therefore, when I put it back in the context of love, so then it heals that lack of ratzon. Okay. Should we go weiter? Should we go onward? Okay. Hey. This is a very, very deep piece, and a very therapeutic piece also. It says, "K'shoskim b'tshuva." When a person is involving themselves in tshuva, when they're doing tshuva, צריכים להגביר ביותר את מהותם של הטוב והרע. So we have to, להגדיר ביותר. We have to clarify for ourselves and define for ourselves very clearly what exactly is good and what's evil. What's good and what's bad.
Yeah, 10 Commandments maybe.
Huh?
Maybe 10 Commandments.
No, he's talking about something that's much more subtle, much more nuanced. That there's a lot of times where something can look good and holy, and it's really not, and the other way around. So it can look something really not so good, but it's really actually very holy, right? Give me an example. If I'm a simple example, silly example, but simple enough. If I know that I need to wake up for davening, and I know that I have a whole day of learning ahead of me, so I should go to bed early, right? But maybe I want to stay up and learn a little bit longer. Right? So the learning itself not might be coming from the Yetzer Hara at that moment. Right? No, really you should go to bed right now. Really, Ratzon Hashem, you should go to bed. Right? And many different kind of subtleties like that. Right? Knowing exactly what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. Right? But let's go even deeper. Rav Kook is saying that everybody needs to know what if we could have a very clear compass and a map of what's good and what's bad, so then everybody would be better off. What does that have to do with doing tshuva? Because Rav Kook says when you're doing tshuva, you need to be very clear and clarifying these things. It's an amazing sentence. He says that really, what's your state? What you who are aspiring to be a spiritually healthy person, an exalted spiritual person, what your natural state should be, what your normative state should be, is a state of simcha, optimism, positivity, focus on the good, ratzon, like a lion that wants so much to get so many good things done, right? So, but if you do tshuva, it kind of opposes that, because tshuva, especially on the past, that's what Kook is talking about, specifically tshuva on the past here. That so then you're looking at the negative, right? So you have to be very careful when you're looking at the negative. What's the pitfall of looking at the negative?
To see the positive.
Huh?
To see the positive.
No, what's the michshol? What's the problem in looking at the
You're
negative?
strengthening your einara. You can see the lack in the world.
Yeah, fair. Maybe it's gonna make me. It's gonna pogem. It's gonna blemish my midah of looking at the good. Maybe it's gonna. If I focus too much on that, I'm gonna turn into a person that's always looking for the bad,
Right.
or I'm always seeing the bad, right? Therefore, if Cook says, when you're shifting your ratzon from positivity to something negative, right? So you have to make sure that focus is laser sharp and accurate. That it only falls on something negative. For instance, like if you're doing a surgery to remove chas v'shalom some type of foreign body, some type of unhealthy thing in the person's body, lo aleinu, you have to be accurate. You don't, right? A person has chalila growth on their lungs. You don't want to take out any part that's not that actual growth. You don't want to get rid of something healthy, something necessary, right? But if you're not a very discerning doctor, you say, I think it's around here, so I'll just scoop out a little bit extra just to make sure that it's out, right? That's not kind of doctor we I don't wish that doctor on anybody. But so too us spiritually, when we're spiritually healing ourselves and we're doing tshuva, we're going back, is to make sure that we're just that feeling regret on the negative, on the bad, and not on the good. And this is even deeper, right? Meaning, you remember that thing that you did way back when, that you have so much regret over it, right? And you view that moment, that conversation, or that act that you did as so bad. It was just the worst thing. The thing I'm most embarrassed about in my life. I have so much pain that I spoke that way to this person, or that I acted this way, or that I did this thing, right? Not everything about that act was negative, right? Maybe 70% was negative, right? Maybe 20% was negative, but it was very intense, and it painted the whole thing, right, in a certain way in your eyes. Rav Kook says, ועוד יותר שצריך לברר את הטוב הנמצא בעומק הרע ולחזק אותו, and you also need to find the good that's hidden in the bad and strengthen it, right? באותו הכוח עצמו שבורחים מן הרע, with the very same strength that you run away, the same intensity that you run away from the evil that was in that act, you have to cherish the good that was in that act. Does that make sense? This is so deep. You have to strengthen it. Why? Why do we have to strengthen it? Maybe just say, you know what, forget about it. I want to forget about the whole thing. I don't want the good. I don't want the bad of it. I just want to forget about it. I want to clean it all out. No, because the good that was in there is something that's precious. It's something that's holy, right? Matter of fact, the Rav Chalab talks about, Rav Kook, he brings this from Rav Kook, but Rav Chalab talks about it in a few different places, that in the end, this is unbelievable. In the end, how is everything going to become a tikkun in the end when we've done so many bad things as a people, right? How can it be?
Because everything comes from here to upstairs. Here is downstairs, here upstairs.
We fix it, but how do we fix it? How does everything get its tikkun?
What you're saying.
He says that because underneath even the ratzon halotov, the negative ratzon, underneath that really was a positive ratzon, right? I have a couple examples that I wrote here on a.
Rabbi, I'm sorry, I want to understand. The basic is good, on the good, there's the bad things.
Say it again. Say it again from the beginning.
In the ground, basic, always it is a good.
Right.
It's what you say.
Yeah, underneath.
Yeah.
Right. Have you ever met a baby, an evil baby? Right? So where do we go wrong? Have you ever met a cruel baby? A ruthless? And maybe Hitler. I don't know what he was like. I'm sure his mother loved him. I don't know. He survived childhood and infancy, and he got to.
Torturing the parents.
Doesn't it say in the Torah,
Torturing the parents.
Parshat Noach,
Oh
that
my God.
God made humans wicked from birth, like a Ra.
Shit, no,
Oh.
that they
Like we can fix it. Yeah. So I see what.
not that he made them, not that he made them bad.
He's weak.
That they chose evil, right? Matter of fact, there's another pasuk that says "Ve'elokim asay et Adam yashar." Hashem made man upright.
Right.
Vehema bikshu cheshbonot rabim. Hashem saw that in Parashat Noach. Hashem saw that mankind was doing never-ending bad things. He saw they needed a reset, right? But by definition, that Kadosh Baruch Hu created us, and we're a chelik elokam imal, that we're an actual piece of Kadosh Baruch Hu. We're good, right? You have a person. You take an adult who it might be an example of the worst type of human being that you could imagine, but when they were a little child, right? They were pure little neshama. Something went wrong there that made them choose this lifestyle and everything, right? That doesn't mean that a person doesn't have to take responsibility and that there's no what's the word I'm looking for? Accountability for all of the person's actions. There's 100% accountability. Matter of fact, the Gemara says that anybody that thinks that Hashem will overlook things, that he's making a mistake, right? But he wants everybody to have a tikkun. It's not because Hashem wants to punish everybody. He wants you to have a tikkun. So therefore, you have to, right? Right.
He is the most ancient one.
Right.
He
He sees everything, right? So there's no right? But
everywhere.
underneath, even those twisted ratzonot that adults have, and right, underneath that is purity. On all the way underneath. Some people, they might not be able to get to that place in this lifetime, right? It's just too deep. It's too covered up with mud and trauma and whatever, right? But underneath, so Rav Kook is saying that. Yeah, you want to say?
Yeah, I just don't think I explained it very well.
Okay.
Like I say wicked, right? The term is Ra.
Right.
That I think the idea of that pasuk in Noach is saying that, like, people are born egotistical because that's what we need to survive, right?
All right.
Babies, they say, I want this, I want that.
Right. All right. If you look at the pasuk, it says Ra mineurav. Mineurav. Neurav is from his teenage years, from Nar. Nar is around 12 years old, right? Not from before that, right? That's usually on a therapeutic level. That's that at the age of pre-adolescence and adolescence is the time where a person's psyche starts developing adaptations to whatever type of negative things that they're experiencing in their childhood, right? And matter of fact, in the kind of therapy that I do, we talk about the adapted child. The adapted child is that teenage psyche placed inside of a person where they develop coping mechanisms for, according to whatever pain and trauma, difficulty, and adversity they're experiencing, and they end up living their whole life as a teenager, right? Just in an adult's body. And that adaptation, one of my teachers says, it's a teenager's version of what an adult should do, right? So when you see a 60-year-old person have a temper tantrum, you think you might not have experienced that, but it happens. When you see that happen, and you realize it's that young place in their psyche, right? So it's minul rav, right? But in any event, Rav Kook is saying that there's good underneath that. Don't throw away the good that's underneath that. That's precious. That good. I'm gonna give a couple examples here. Sadness. When a person is experiencing sadness is always an expression, is an emotional reaction to loss, some type of loss, right? It could be imagined loss, it could be real loss, the loss of what I thought that I was going to have a relationship with this person, and now they moved out. I had a roommate, and now they moved out, and now I'm feeling sad, right? So you say, what's positive about sadness, right? What's the precious part about this sadness? All it is brokenness and loss, right? And pain. But no, the thing that's really causing the sadness is the desire for connection, right? Because I have such a desire for connection, and I'm not getting that fulfilled right now, I feel sad. I feel like I'm at a loss, right? Don't throw away your sad feelings. Cherish that desire for connection that you have. Another one is anger, right? Anger is always is a secondary emotion. But
How many emotions? How many emotions?
that's a big argument in the big argument in the world. There's a book that I have called Atlas of the Heart by a lady called named B'nai Brown that she I think she has like something like 78 or something in there.
There's a section over there, subsection.
It depends what you call emotion. I don't know. I don't know. But the point is that anger is a secondary emotion. Anger is always an emotion that's coming to try to protect a more vulnerable emotion,
Happened to me.
or to fix an emotion, to fix something that's broken in. Right, to fix the loss, exactly.
Yeah.
So
There's nothing to be mad of. Now, why should we?
right, but if I have anger, so I say, okay, I'm going to get rid of my anger altogether. But Rav Kook says that, so of course we want to get rid of the anger expression, but what's underneath the anger? What's underneath the anger? There's a very precious emotion there that needs cherishing, right? It's valuable, right? And even if you can't get to the deeper emotion, the fact that he still has, some people don't get angry because they've given up. They don't believe they can fix anything, right? You have a couple that they're really angry with each other. If they're angry with each other, they're still with what to work, right? If once they become cold and they've given up on each other, so then there's no more anger. I'm over it, right? There's something precious even in that anger that it still desires to make something better. What about regret, which is right what Cook is talking about, right? Remorse. I have something that I've done in my life that I just feel bad about, right? The pain of that regret is also there's a ratzon tov. The reason why it hurts me is because there's a place in me that wants so much good. I want to be better, right? How many times in the process of tshuva have you thought to yourself, "Wow, I was really bad that I did this, or this"? Or how many times in the process of tshuva did you say, "I'm so good that I want to be good"? I value myself because I so want to be a good person. Look how many times a day I think about being a better person. When's the last time you did that? Right? We don't do that.
I'm good even when I'm bad. I'm
Right.
mad. I'm poor. I'm good even when I'm
Right. Yom Kippur.
I'm happy when I'm sad.
Right. Yom Kippur is the happiest day of the year. That's what Chazal say. It's the happiest day of the year. Some people dread Yom Kippur the whole year. Right? It hurts to look at myself. That's only because you're not looking at all of yourself. You're only looking at part of yourself, right? You're looking, right? And one more that I have here is ta'ava, lusts, right? Lust for pleasure, all different kinds of pleasure. There's something positive on it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put that in the world. You guys know that there's a story that in the Gemara that when the sages came back to Israel after the exile in Babel, after 70 years in Babylon, and they came back and they said, they got together the men of the Great Assembly, 120 sages, including our last generation of prophets, Malachi, right, Haggai, Zechariah, Ezra, Sofer, and they said, Ribbonu Shel Olam, we can't do it. You gave us a Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah to serve idols, and it's just too big for us. You see that we fought all these years that we had the first Beit HaMikdash and the Mishkan and Shiloh. We kept on falling because we just can't. It's too big of a Yetzer. We can't do it. So they daven that Hashem should take away the Yetzer Hara. And the Gemara says that Hashem took away the Yetzer Hara, right? And they saw the image of I think it was a lion. I can't remember. A lion came out of the Holy of Holies. Some type of spiritual vision that they had. Now, how many of you guys have a desire to go do Avodah Zarah? Don't raise your hands. We don't even know what that's like. Why on earth would anybody do Avodah Zarah? You guys know that there was a certain type. Forgive me for being a little bit coarse here. There was a certain type of Avodah Zarah that the way that they would serve it is they would defecate on it. They would go to the bathroom on the Avodah Zarah. And that was an exhilaratingly spiritual experience for them. Can you imagine? It's like the last thing on earth anybody would want to do, right? But I think as the Rambam says that if we would know what the Actually in the Gemara it talks about that if we would know what that Yetzer Hara, what that desire, what that lust for Avodah Zarah was, each one of us would pick up our pants, so to speak, and go running to go do it. We just don't feel it. We don't have that lust anymore. It's gone. They exorcised it out of our system. Then it says, you know what? Also the lust for Gilui Arayot, for inappropriate relationships. So it says they also got rid of that one. And it says for 3 days there wasn't a single chicken that laid an egg in in Israel. Meaning they saw that the world would not. You can't live like that. Nobody would stay married. Nobody would have, right. There's something what they're teaching in the Gemara there is that there's something chiyuni, there's something necessary, there's something beautiful about these desires. They have to be channeled properly. They have to be expressed properly, right? But in a very basic sense, why does a person have a taiva for? When you go in Machon Mir, I remember when I was a student, I don't know if it's still like this, but going back 20 plus years, and I would miss breakfast or whatever if I woke up late and I was hungry and I was sitting in this classroom with Rav Tzvi Kleiman, listening to Shiur Gemara, and I would be hungry. I didn't have breakfast. And all this, and they would open the windows on a nice, cool Tammuz day like today, and you could smell the rogalach that they were baking at the Angel's Bakery. You could smell it. It was kind of wafting through the whole neighborhood. I don't know if you could still smell it.
This is what happened to me today.
Happened the other day. And I'm having trouble concentrating on what the Rav is talking about, and thinking about excusing myself to go collect some breakfast over at Angel's, right? So that's maybe from hunger, but where does it come from? Where does it come? You see an ice cream, or the other types of lust that a person has. What's that place in his neshama that it's coming? It's not just from his body, gentlemen. It's not just a physical animalistic thing. If we treat it with an animalistic way, and we don't understand what's happening inside of us, then it sure becomes an animalistic act, right? But it's so deep. There's a desire for the soul to have chiyut, vitality, right? When you eat that ice cream and you feel good, I'm not saying to go eat ice cream. When you go eat that ice cream, when you feel good, there's a vitality, there's an oneg, there's a pleasure that you experience. It's not just a physical pleasure. It gives you something. Why do people do the emotional eating? Right? When a person's depressed, they go like the tub of ice cream, right? Whatever it is. It does something. There's a certain oneg, there's a certain chiyus that it gives to you. That's spiritual. There's sparks in that food. We're seeking something. When a person wants to go skydiving, hang gliding, all these different experiences a person could have to get the adrenaline, high, right? There's a chiyus that a person's seeking. Einachinami. If I express it in an inappropriate way, outside of the bounds of halacha, etc., so I regret that and I do tshuva on that. But don't throw away also that precious kernel inside of the shorosh of it. That's what Rav Kook is saying. Back inside. So he says, with the same intensity that you want to get rid of the bad, you want to hold on and to cherish the good. In order that the tshuva will be able to be something that's positive, and you're not just surgically cutting out all the parts of yourself, and there's nothing left at the end. And then he alludes to tshuva mi'ava, tshuva from a place of love. You guys know that if a person does tshuva from a place of fear, the Gemara says that even the intentional sins that he did, there's donot, nasud kishkagot, they become like unintentional sins. That's a lot. That's a big gift. But if a person does tshuva from a place of love, they become merits. Meaning he willingly and consciously did a sin, and now he does tshuva from a place of love. That very act becomes as if he did a mitzvah at that moment. It transforms it. Spiritual transformation. And it all depends on what the place in your heart is that you're doing tshuva from. So the highest place to do tshuva is obviously from a place of love. Right? So in order to do tshuva from a place of love, Rav Kook is saying that's why you need this. You need to be able to discern exactly what's the good and exactly what's the bad. Right? And to unlock the good from the bad. And I'll just say, from a therapist perspective, this is one of the the lion's share, I would say, of what a lot of therapists do, which is helping people become reconnected with parts of themselves that they cut off, that they don't want to be connected to, because they only see bad in those parts of themselves, but there's also so much good in those parts of themselves, right? So discovering that.
The thing is that the time is that the therapist they take it like 1 month, year, and they take money for every session. Here with God is like one moment. Cool. I love God. That's it. Love, that's it. No more.
Halavai, if a person can do
It's
it.
amazing. It's amazing.
You're right.
That's all. This is what we're talking about before.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. Okay, Jonah, let's see. We have time for one more? Yeah? We're good?
Yeah.
Let's try it. Vav. החטא סותם את ההערה של החוכמה העליונה. Sin, it blocks the pipeline, the illumination of wisdom that comes from on high. We'll see what that means in a second. שדרך גילויה בא מצד יחס ההרמוניה המתאימה של הנשמה המכרת את כלליות ההוויה כולה ומקורה עליון. This plugs us back into something Rav Kook spoke about a few chapters ago, that the way Rav Kook views things is that there's a harmony going on. There's this constant harmony, HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the creation, and as long as we don't disrupt that harmony, so everything works out beautifully, right? The experience of Gan Eden and Adam Arishon and Chava and Gan Eden before the sin was just pure unfiltered harmony with the entire all levels of creation and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But if we disrupt that harmony through sin, chet, on misguided actions, behaviors, etc., they disrupt us from that harmony, and therefore the way it's that's from up here. The way things should naturally work when everything is in harmony is that a person is getting a shefa, an abundance, a flow of wisdom from Hashem, on all different kinds of levels. But if the sin, it disrupts that harmony, all of a sudden it puts a block in that pipeline, so to speak. That wisdom, the way that godly wisdom becomes revealed to you, becomes experienced by you, is through your soul, right? We talk about prophecy. Prophecy is not an experience where you actually hear something outside of yourself. It's not like you're, we've got a children's book at home, that the story of Yonah, and you see Yonah talking to God, and he's like this, God, and a lot of times we do that when we're davening, right? We look up, for sure. But ultimately, the experience of dveikus, the experience of connection to God and Ruach HaKodesh and Nevuah, is an inner experience. You are the conduit. You are the place where Hashem speaks. It's within you. It's not from without of you, right? And so that itself becomes blocked. Therefore, if a person does a sin, he blocks the very vessel, the very vehicle, the very pipeline where that communication is supposed to come through. That wisdom and ratzon are interlocked. They're in part of that neshama. So if a person, it's like I guess maybe on a physical level, if I eat something that's poisonous, it's something physical. I put it into the right. So my body is the one that experiences it, right? So to my soul. Kol chet ma'asi korehu et achdut haidealית
If you
הזאת.
don't eat, you just watch.
What?
Something very precise, like dava, like movement, like this. You watch it. It's
Right.
interesting.
Betach. Why? Because on a physical level, it's what you put in. It's really more than that. Also, your skin breathes, and all stuff that you put on your skin. It's not just what you ingest. But on a spiritual level, your body is the portal between you and the world, and you have to also there's a mitzvah. It's one of the mitzvot not to, right, just to give mitzvot to think certain things, not to think certain things. You have a mitzvah to see certain things and not to see certain things. Right. As one of my a Rebbitzin from the Chabad Shliach in Austin, Texas, used to say to Bochum, she said the first look is free, the second one you have to pay for. Right? Meaning you can't control what comes, everything that comes. You're not supposed to walk like this. I tell the story that years ago during this month I had to go to Tel Aviv for something. I forget what I was there for. I told you guys this story. Yeah, you remember this stuff? I had to go to Tel Aviv for something. It was in the middle of the summer. Tel Aviv in the middle of summer is not the best place to work on Shmirat Einayim. So I said, okay, I'm be focused. Walk, get off the bus, go to where I'm going. So I was walking like this. I got to a red light, a crosswalk, and on the ground in front of me was an advertisement for some type of party. There was a naked girl on the advertisement, totally naked. So then I looked up. I said, "Rabbi Shalom." I said, if I'd be looking this way, I'd see half naked. So I said, I'm gonna shomer einayim, and here I see full naked. You can't win, especially in this generation. There's never been a generation like this generation, right? It's impossible. But to keep on looking, that's a Yom mitzvah. Let's go back into Rav Kook.
You got it, second time.
Right. So it says, Kol chet ma'asi korehu et ha'achdut ha'idеалית hazot. Every practical sin, every sin that a person does, it disrupts that harmony that's supposed to be. When you align everything that you're looking for, gentlemen, all the pleasure, all the goodness, all the spiritual enrichment and satiation that you're looking for, the way that happens is when you are aligned and harmonious with the Kadosh Baruch Hu and the creation on all levels. But every sin that we do disrupts that harmony. And it places the how do you say ma'agal ha'chaim, the
circle of life.
The circle of life, but he means like the whole creation outside of the soul. What does that mean? That the rest of the creation doesn't have free will. We're the only people here that have free will, right? A salamander, a chameleon, an owl, an ox. None of them have free will. They are born in that harmony with Hashem, and they die in that harmony. Their whole life is in that harmony, right? The only people that have a choice to be in that harmony or not to be in that harmony is us. And when we use our free will and we sin, chas v'shalom, we disrupt ourselves from the harmony. Now, all that whole creation is outside us. The Piyas Rabbi says a person should go every now and then into the forest, and you should say, look, all this creation is all in harmony with you. Why should I be outside of it? I also want to be part of this harmony. ואין הופעה מהפכה כמעיין זך הולכת שוב להשפיע לאותו הרצון המחולל עד אשר ישוב וניחם. And until he does tshuva, he doesn't get that refreshing, fresh water spring-like healing fixing of being plugged back into the whole system of harmony. Until he does tshuva, and then he gets comforted by that. Finally, he feels satisfaction of being re-entered into the harmony. Ve'ora tshuva lefi erech be'ilut ha'akara. I love this sentence. Ve'omak haskamata yashiv et ha'harmonia le'etana. In the light of tshuva, depending on the clarity that he has in recognizing what he's doing, and the depth of haskamata, the depth of how much he agrees, he gives himself over to it. He how do you say that? He not nullifies himself, but he gives himself over. That's the best way to say. Haskama is agreement, an inner agreement of tshuva. Which Rav Kook, that's the same word that Rav Kook used in the Hakdama. That there's something called haskamat tshuva. It's not just I believe that there's a mitzvah to do tshuva, and I believe that it works, but I just don't have the koach to do it. Haskama is I want this. I'm here, right? You guys, you know what the greatest feeling of standing under the chuppah is? The chatan and the kala. The greatest feel that it's such a nuance. I'm here. I'm here. I'm with you. I'm committing to you. I'm willingly giving myself over to this relationship. Right? There's no greater compliment, honor that anybody could ever give you in your life. Each one of you in the Bishat Tova. Right? And that feeling is magical. So too, a person that has that haskamat tshuva, So to the depth of that, Yashiv et harmonia le'etana, Hashiva li sason v'yishecha, v'ruch nedivat tismachen. Rav Kook finishes on a pasuk. It says that's what restores the harmony. I also want to be part of this harmony. I make myself soft. I soften my stubbornness, and I give myself over, and I change whatever I have to change, right? And I fix whatever I have to fix, tweak whatever I have to tweak in order to be part of this beautiful harmony, right? And then the pasuk says, "Hashiva li." David the Melech asks, he says, "Restore to me the joy of your salvation, the ruach nedivat tismacheni, in a spirit of giving myself over. Establish me with that spirit." And that's the kind of spirit that Rav Kook is talking about. That's why he uses this pasuk. That I want to be part of this, right? I don't want that Hashem should come likrati, that He should have to come to me. I want to be part of this. I make myself soft and humble and come to this. Okay, gentlemen, that was a lot of words for a short hour.